So good morning, everyone. Again, welcome, and thank you for joining again. And again, we will start with mindful breathing exercise. Watching the breath as you inhale and exhale mindfully and being aware of that. And then we can try to contemplate that how fortunate and lucky I am to be awake today and to be alive now. Because everyone has to die. Anyone who is born in samsara has to die. And we are no exception from that. We also have to face the death for sure one day. There's so many people that we know personally in our life have already died. Some of them in 90s, 80s, 70s, their age. Some of them much more younger. Some of them died because they had some illness. Some of them died suddenly, unexpectedly. And that could also happen to us anytime. Luckily, fortunately, it hasn't stuck so far. Giving us the opportunity to take care of things that we feel important before we die. To forgive those who need to be forgiven, asking for forgiveness for those whom we might have hurt, harmed. And practice the Dharma as much as we can. So if the death comes suddenly this year, this month, this week, or even tomorrow, that we have less regret. So we can have more peace in our heart. And it is only the practice of Dharma that can really help us while we are alive, at the time of death, and after the death. Nothing else. Therefore, without wasting the time, I must try to engage in the Dharma practice as much as I can, according to our own individual understanding and practice. Whether it's on cushion, whether it's on our everyday life, all the time. And in order to practice the Dharma, I need to be inspired and reminded of the practice of the Dharma, and also need to continue to study, learn. For that very reason, I'm going to listen. And not only listen, but I'm going to try to integrate as much as possible whatever I find useful and beneficial from the teachings. May my act of coming here to listen and to engage in discussions, reflecting, contemplating, may all of this become cause and conditions to achieve fully awakened state, the Buddhahood, so I can help to liberate all sentient beings from all their suffering, cause of suffering, permanently, completely. So that I can help them to accomplish not only temporary happiness, but ultimate happiness. Hopefully enlightened state. Okay.
So we'll take refuge and generate bodhicitta once in English and twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chodan Soki Chonam La Chanchu Bardu Dagni Kapsuchi Dagi Chonen Gepe Tsoknan Ki Drola Penshir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Chodan Soki Chonam La Chanchu Bardu Dagni Kapsuchi Dagi chonen gepe tsognangi drola penshir sangye drupar sho.
Angye dujanye zone, odom jebang beche, tampecho neten jebe, odom de la chao sa lo. So we are on the sections of this Lamrim, graduate path by Third Dalai Lama. The essence of refined gold, the title. Within that, we are on sections on the practice of the common practice of initial scope, which is common practice for the Lamrim practitioner, the Mahayana practitioner, that they also need to practice as a preliminary. Also, someone whose spiritual goal is to achieve, individual liberation, arhat. Even for them, they also need to practice this as a preliminary. And someone, even whose goal is just to have, better future life, high rebirth. Even for them, they have to practice the initial. So all of them. And even someone who want to have a happiness of just this life, also those practice can be great help to, to develop the inner joy and happiness of this life as well. And within that practice, we kind of went through the precious human rebirth, and then we're section where here talking about the death impermanent, and where we talk about how everyone has to die. That is definite and certain that will be happens. That is something that no one can escape. As long as you are born, no one escaped in the past. Everyone went through, and we also are no exception. We also have to face that one day. And so, not only we are going to die for sure, but the most is that we don't know when we are going to die. Death is certain. The time of death is so uncertain. The time when that will happen to, when will that happen? That is so uncertain. Sin is so uncertain, and that it can happen anytime. So therefore, we want to prepare for that before it comes. So we feel prepared, mentally prepared. If it comes after 10 years, you are prepared. If it comes before that, in 1 year, mentally you are prepared. If it comes in 1 month, still your mind is prepared. Even if it comes in 1 week, you are still prepared for that. And that is the key, the meditations on the death impermanent. Meditation contemplating death impermanent, especially this meditation on uncertainty of the uncertainty when it will come. Is very important so that you have an awareness that, yes, short, death is not only going to come, but it could come anytime, any moment. To have that strong awareness all the time makes huge difference. It makes huge difference in how we respond, interact with others. It makes huge difference to have less attachments, less wants. It makes a huge difference to let go of any kind of bad feeling we might have towards some others. When you feel that, I never know, this today might be my last day, when you really sincerely feel from your heart, you feel there's no point of holding all this negative feeling, harsh feeling. What is the point of holding all these things? It helps you to let go of all those negative feelings easily and not to hold on them, and to forgive those that we need to be forgiven. And and also we feel like that if we need to be asked forgiveness, to be able to ask forgiveness, because there's no time to wait, because today might be my last day, and this is something important I need to settle down. And as we mentioned, this awareness of death impermanent, realization on awareness through such meditation, contemplation, when you have that realization, awareness, is a very strong driving force to really engage in the practice of Dharma, not only engage in Dharma practice, but to engage in Dharma practice without any delay, and without wasting our time. And not only it helps to not to waste our time and practice the Dharma without delay immediately, but also it helps us to make our Dharma practice more pure. At the moment, even when we try to practice Dharma, still is kind of defiled by some kind of worldly concerns. Some subtle level of worldly concerns involved there. But when we have that realizations of death impermanent, then awareness or realization, then it helps to reduce, it overcome that kind of the worldly concerns, and not having defiled by the worldly concerns, then your practice become much more pure, stronger, effective. So that is where we are. I think in terms of page, we are on page number 12. And we are in where it says, at the time of death, money, positions, friends, and servant will not be able to follow you. So again, contemplating, meditating, what really helps us at the time of death, and especially after the death. No matter how much wealth you have, it is not guaranteed that it will make your life happy in this life just because you have more wealth. We know there are a lot of people who have so much wealth, but who are much more miserable than people who have less. It's a fact. We don't have to look outside. Even look ourselves and compare with some people around the world who have so little. Compared to them, we have a lot. Are we more happy than them? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. You have shelters, we have shelters, we have food, we have health, all of that. There are a lot of people who struggle, very basic in the world, who have very little than what we have. But we have more than them. Are we more happy than them? It doesn't guarantee just because you have more. So even in this life, it doesn't guarantee that will make your life more happy. It will make you more happy just because you have more wealth, you have more positions. Or even having friends. Just because you have a lot of friends, a lot of family, it doesn't mean that it makes you more happy than someone who might not have much friends and who doesn't feel like they need a friend. They're just happy with themselves. There are a lot of meditators who are by themselves. They don't feel like they need help and friends and all of this to make them happy. They're just happy by themselves. So having more friends, and bigger families, or more relatives, and those or servant and so forth who work for you doesn't guarantee, forget about futures, doesn't guarantee that it will make your life more happy, even this life, while you are alive. It doesn't guarantee or make your death more easier. A lot of time it makes your death more complicating. More you have, more you worry about at the time of death what is going to happen. Less you have less to worry at, not only during the time, at the time of death. And if your mind is unsettled because you worry about these things, what might happen, what should I do with all this? Should I do this way, that way? Should I give this, and all this? Or what might have happened, all this? Will they make use of it, not use of it? All of that. Your mind is kind of occupied with that. It's hard to have your mind calm, peaceful, because your mind is too occupied with so many thoughts and worry and so forth. So it doesn't necessarily, at the time of death, doesn't necessarily make your death more peaceful, maybe even more complicating. And then after death, those cannot help at all. At all. You cannot take one penny at the time of death. One penny, no matter how much you have. As it is said in sutras, it says, when you die, the beggar and the king die same way. Both of them go empty-handed. You leave everything behind. You cannot take one penny. Even you might be surrounded by a lot of friends, families, and who want to go with you in your journey after the death, but they cannot. You make the journey yourself, alone. You go by yourself, alone. So also the families, friends, they cannot help in your unknown journey, the next journey, unknown journey. Even they want to, from their side, even they want to help, even they want to, there's nothing they can do about that. No matter how many servants, no matter how much, people who work for you, again, you leave everyone behind. You go by yourself, alone. So, though they cannot follow you and they cannot help you, So with that reflection, contemplation, meditation, the point is then not to get attached to them. You don't get attached to the wealth. You don't get attached to the friends, families. You don't get attached to all of that. If you don't get attached to them, then it's not a big problem. When you are attached to them, then that create problems. So therefore, however, the trace of negative karma created for their sake will pursue you like a shadow. So while we are alive, in order to create more wealth, sometimes we create negative karma. In order to protect our family, friends, we create negative karma. Because we become biased. We become biased towards our family, friends. In order to protect them, of course, if you don't have attachment, then that might not be the case. As I mentioned, the family itself, friend itself, not the problem. But when you have attachment to them, because of that attachment, then we become biased. And being biased, we try to protect our family friend regardless of their mistake or not. And we try to, harm the enemy regardless of whether there is their problem or their mistake or not. And through such that, due to that biased mind and discriminating mind, then, we create and we engage in actions. And through that, we create a lot of negative karma. And having created those negative karma, those karmic seed imprints is planted in our mind stream, and that mind stream continue and carrying those karmic imprint, karmic seeds. That is what follow. That is what we take. Of course, it is not only negative karma seed. If we have created positive karma, of course, we are also carrying those positive karma seed as well. And as it says, it's like a shadow. Buddha gave it. With the shadow, sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't see it, but shadow is always there. When the bird's flying, you might see the shadow of the bird or not, depending on the light. other conditions. But even you cannot see the shadow is always there because you cannot see it because of certain conditions, certain lightning. In the same way, sometimes we might be able to see and feel those imprint or karmic imprint, and so sometimes we might not be able to see it or feel it, but it is always there. And that is how you must go from this life, So we leave this life behind and take the next journey to the next destinations, carrying all this karmic imprint and leaving everything behind, all the external, wealth, family, friends, everything behind, just carrying our karmic seed within our mind stream. That's think it over, So thinking, one must contemplate it again and again. So when you think it again and again, then you begin to feel the importance of practicing Dharma, creating more positive karma, reducing more negative karma as much as possible. At this point, at this moment, you are content to eat, drink, and consume. Yeah, that is how we consume our everyday, We eat 3 times, drink, eat, do our ordinary things, worldly things, and that's how we consume our life day by day. That is your daily life. Each day, that become a week become a month, year, and then that become your life. Add life, wealth, sensual objects. Food just burn on, and you accomplish nothing of value. So, we enjoy sensory pleasures, We run after sensory pleasure. We enjoy those sensory pleasure, trying to, see something, beautiful visuals, forms, sound, taste, smell, and all of that. In our life goal, at the end of life, what did you accomplish in your life? What's the value of your life? What did you accomplish? Something valuable. What do you accomplish? If we really reflect, then there's nothing much to show. There's nothing. All we did is just ordinary, worldly ordinary things, and our life has gone. And there's nothing that we can be so proud, something rejoice so, thinking, this is something that I did something that I feel valuable, something I can rejoice, something, So our life can just end just like that. That's what we're here saying, if we don't use it. So here is fully direct whatever remain of your life to the genuine Dharma practice. So through such meditation and contemplation, then you come to this awareness of realizations, All these of things are not so much valuable, not so much meaning, except, of course, we need the basic needs for survival, that you cannot ignore, because if you don't have basic survival needs, you cannot practice. If you cannot practice, you cannot do anything meaningful and also help others. So apart from that, then, and so when you understand, then come to a conclusion, understanding what is most meaningful, valuable things that I need to engage and accomplish is the true Dharma practice, pure Dharma practice. That is the only thing that is most beneficial for oneself, beneficial for others, beneficial while you are alive at the time of death and after the death. So, cultivating that strong inspirations, strong enthusiasm, and interest to really dedicate yourself to practice the pure Dharma. And again, I've mentioned many times, what is Dharma? Dharma is not some kind of just a rituals, some kind of external. Dharma is transforming your mind. That's what it is. Transforming your mind. Dharma is something that reduces your anger, your resentment, grudges, desire, your self-centeredness, your ignorance, those afflictive emotions. Any practice, meditations that help you to reduce those negative emotions, any practice that help you to cultivate and develop those positive emotions through love, compassion, patience, generosity, moral or ethical disciplines, wisdom, so forth. That is what the Dharma is. That is the main Dharma. Sometimes, again, we all, sometimes we might lose that understanding. And then sometimes we get kind of lost in the externals and not being really dealing with the internal. That is what real Dharma is, reducing those negative emotions, eliminating those negative emotions. Of course, then to do that, there are many different forms of practice to support and help that. That's and do this from today onward, not from tomorrow, for death might strike tonight. And so that is when you have awareness. Death could strike me anytime, even tonight. When you have that awareness through such meditation, practice, realization, then you will try to practice now. Of course, individually, some people have studied more. They might have more advanced practice on different meditation. Some people who are new and who have just learned whatever small practice, meditations. But whatever you know, you will try to apply it now. You will try to apply whatever you know now in whatever small, big, whatever. You will try to apply now without postponing. And if you try to apply now without postponing, then if the death does come by tonight, you have prepared your mind a little bit more better. You have already prepared better. And if the death does come tonight, you have a little bit less regret, and you have prepared better. And here you may ask, if with the exception of Dharma, nothing helps at the time of death, then how does Dharma help? And how does non-Dharma harm? So that is the good questions, to ask ourselves. And then here, the answer here is, at the death, you do not simply evaporate. You do not just disappear without any continuity. Even our body has continuity. When you die, you cremate it or you bury it, and it becomes ashes. It becomes with the earth. Ashes, wherever you throw it, where you put it, it dissolves into some other things. And there's continuity of that. There's a past continuity of our body, there's a future continuity of our body. The past continuity is that our body come from our parents, sperm and eggs, which come from their body and which came from our grandparents and so on. There is a past continuity, and even future there is in way. So therefore, absolutely, there is a continuity of our mind. It doesn't just kind of disappear and become nothing, and then there is no more continuity and stop there. Not only that, even the plant. We look at the plant; they continue. Certain plants they die by the end of seasons, and then the next come back next spring. There's continuities, and so is the life. And our consciousness. So here he said that is followed by rebirth. So, from Buddhist point of view, there is the idea or concept of rebirth. There's end to this life, but there's continuity of the consciousness taking another life, rebirth. Among different spiritual view, there are certain spiritual view who accept not only Buddhists but also others who believe and accept there is a rebirth, and then there are others who doesn't believe rebirth. Even within the Buddhists, nowadays, I think there are some Buddhists who might not believe there is a rebirth. It's all individuals' belief, But definitely Buddha has mentioned and explained about those, if you go to the sutras, about the rebirth. Of course, it's individually to whether they take that as literally or not literally, whether they really believe not. Of course, it is individual right and choice, But definitely, there's, and it. If there's a rebirth, I think there's more hope. Rebirth. If it's the end of my life, then when I die, then there's no more hope. It's finished. There's nothing. If there's a rebirth, I have hope to improve and continue next lifetime. I might have made some mistake. I might not have progressed as much in this life, but still, I can continue to work in next time and to improve and to better and continues, and again, many meditations without the understanding of rebirth, then, your meditation practice become very limited. With the understanding of the rebirth, your practice meditation become much more profound, and you have much more meditation that you can apply. So anyway, and then if there's a rebirth, then whether your rebirth is happy or miserable, high or low, is determined by the state of your mind at the time of death. So most important is what kind of rebirth you have it very much depends on how you live your life, very strongly. Whether you live your life more kind, compassion, wholesome life, or whether you live your life, very negative, very cruel, mean, unkind, uncompassionate, very unwholesome. That will have the biggest impact, But also at the time of death, what state of mind also affects a lot too, for the next preceding state of the mind. It is just like, my present mind will be affected by my way of thinking or attitude in most of my life. That will affect me, my growing up, how I grow up, in what kind of environment, what kind of informations, that has strong impact on my thinkings and my mind, present mind. But also, this morning mind has much more effect immediately now, because it's so close. Just before I came to class, if my mind has been very upset, it will affect my mind now more. So similarly, the closer your mind, it has also strong impact. And so the mind at the time of death and the next moment of mind, rebirth, is very so close, and therefore that also has a very strong influence on that. That is why in Buddhism we talk about so important when someone is dying, it's possible to have positive mind. Even if you cannot have positive mind, try to have calm, peaceful mind and not to have a negative, disturbed mind. Important to create that kind of environment. We try to create environment ourselves, try to develop positive mind. That also, if you are helping someone, trying to help them to create that kind of environment where their mind is calm, peaceful, not agitated and disturbed. And on top of that, if you can help them to develop positive mind, even better. Because that has a strong impact. So that is where it is. Thus, except for the power of karma, ordinary people are powerless. When you reach certain high level of practice, meditation, and as a highly advanced meditator, practitioners, bodhisattvas, high level of bodhisattvas, and arhat, and so on, they have choice. They are not powerless. They can decide what kind of rebirth they want to have. They have power over their rebirth. But for the ordinary beings who do not have such spiritual power, then we are powerless, we are driven by the karma. Wherever karma wind blow, we follow it. It's like a feather that has been blown by the wind. If it blow towards east, it take it to east. If it blow towards west, it take west. So depending on karma, whether we will have a higher, better rebirth, or whether we will have a more, unfortunate rebirth, the karma, the wind of karma, and state of mind, that because we don't have also not only control or power over the karma, we also do not have power and control over our mind at the moment. I don't want to get upset, but due to certain condition, I get upset. That just clearly shows I have no power, control over my mind at the moment. I don't want to be depressed, but due to certain conditions, your mind becomes depressed. If you have power and control, you will not be in that state. You don't want to be in that state. And same with all different state of minds. So that shows that we don't have control and power on our karma, karmic energy, and mind. If you have control over that, then you don't. What kind of a rebirth you have, then you can choose. The bodhisattva will choose, which part of the world, in which countries, which family they can make choose. But for those who doesn't have, then they don't have that. And so therefore it depends on the karma and the state of mind. So here he said, they take the rebirth propelled by the force of their positive and negative karma. The karmic seed left by the previous deeds of body, speech, and mind. If at the time of death a positive thought predominates, a happy rebirth will follow. So at the time of death, if your mind is predominated, or if your mind is, have that positive state of mind, less negative state of mind, then, that will affect the next, and that is, the higher rebirth. And whether your mind will be more in positive state or negative state at the time of death, it will also be very much influenced by how you lived your life when you are still alive. If you have been cruel, unkind, mean throughout your life, and then at the time of death, someone says you have tried to have a compassion, a nice mind, is hard. It's not. But if you have lived your life, kind, compassion, positive state of mind, at the time of death, you will be able to kind of, have those kind of mind. And even sometimes maybe due to weakness, your body, mind being very weak, and you are unable to develop yourself, or maybe you cannot remember. If someone remind you, try to feel compassion, try to feel the compassion mind, or any other positive mind. You can do it because it is something that you have lived your life, something you have done easy all through. So when someone is guiding you, helping you, try to say it is easy to do that. So therefore important to practice the Dharma when you are alive. So at the time of death, practicing Dharma doesn't become difficult. If you don't practice while you are alive, and at the time of death, even if someone try to encourage you, it's hard to do that because you are not used to that. You are not familiar with that practice. You are not accustomed to that practice. And your mind is not so clear and maybe confused, and your body is feeling weak, and all of that is become very difficult. But if you have done the practice, then you don't require so much effort because there is familiarity and accustom and somehow more natural. And so then that can, if a negative thought predominate, one is born in one of the three lower realms where one suffer intensely. So if you are born in a lower rebirth, then what kind of suffering that you experience intensely? So then here it says, what are the torments of the three lower realms? To quote Acharya Nagarjuna, so one of the great Indian scholar, Nagarjuna, okay. And I think this is in his, he doesn't give the text title here, but I think this is from his letter to his king, letter to his friend king. Remember that in the lower hells, one burn like sun. In the upper hells, one freeze. So he talked about, the suffering of hot and suffering of cold, intense. And then that is one. And then other remember the breather and spirit. Breather is hungry ghost. And the spirit and suffer from hunger, thirst, and climate. So again, those beings are constantly have an intense suffering of thirst, hunger, and due to their karma, it is mentioned even when they go close by the water or lake or river, it kind of dry up. It didn't really dry up, but in their karma, for them it feel like there's no more water. It is dry up, And again, is even not in hungry ghost. I think sometimes even if some people due to certain condition, they also experience something like that. I've heard some people, where different people experience. One see a lake's water and one cannot see a lake and water or certain things like that. And you don't know what exactly, in such cases, what exactly obscuration is that for the other person to not be able to see that. But in hungry ghost, definitely is that karma. And then other ones, animal. Remember that animals suffer the consequences of stupidity or ignorance. So of course, maybe it will come later. And then abandon the karmic cause of such misery. So what is the cause of low rebirth is the negative karma. And if you don't want to experience such a low rebirth, any of the low rebirth, then you try to abandon or avoid creating negative karma that lead to such rebirth and sufferings. And cultivate the cause of joy, and try to engage into a positive karma or positive virtues that lead to higher rebirth, where there's less intense suffering than the others. Human life is rare and precious. As we talked before. A human life is rare and precious. Do not make it cause of pain. Take heed. Use it well. And so again, as we mentioned, and as His Holiness says, we human beings have this incredible, because our brain, we have this incredible intelligence to be able to use reasoning and logic and all of that. And we have so much potential to make so much positive differences in the world. But when we misuse our mind for the destructions of the humanity, the world, the planet, the other sentient beings, then is very, very sad. Then we use our human life and our human mind to create more pain for others and oneself. So here, Nagarjuna advises, do not use this human life, which has so much potential and precious, to create more destructions, more pain, more suffering to yourself and to other sentient beings, because both other sentient beings, yourself is already suffering. already pain. There's no need to create more pain. There's no need to create more suffering. There's no need to create more distractions. And so that is the advice in Nagarjuna. Use it well, not to create pain, but use it well to bring more joy, more happiness in the world, other sentient beings, and yourself. And not only temporary joy or pleasure, but inner peace, inner joy, and lasting happiness. Because we can achieve that. If we can direct in the right direction, our mind has that ability, the potential to produce and achieve such happiness, So then, after quoting that from Nagarjuna, then he's holding the Third Dalai Lama, then now he's giving his commentary here. As Nagarjuna implies, the suffering of hot and cold health are unendurable. The suffering of hungry ghosts are horrendous. The suffering of animal, those other two beings, we ordinary beings cannot see it. Even though it is said, certain beings can see them. There are stories where certain, lamas or even some ordinary beings where they encounter hungry ghosts or starving spirits, looking for food and drink and so forth with that kind of. And then there are also beings, who can see even the hell beings. Even the Buddha's time, Sherab Buddha, Mongolianas, and many others, they have through their psychic power, they have the ability to see them. We ordinary beings might not be able to see them, but what we can see from this is the animal realms. The two others, we ordinary beings cannot see it, but and so the suffering of animal, eating one another, so that is like in a wildlife, that is what is, whether it is in the earth or whether it is under the water, each bigger animals eating the others for their survivals, And you can imagine when you are being eaten by someone, not dead, but eating the pain, the suffering. You can imagine alive being eaten by another being. The pain is something that we cannot even thinking about. That is, feel like too gross. So that is the pain and sufferings. Being domesticated, being domesticated, no matter how much no matter how much you pay attention, no matter how much you try to take care of them, love, compassion, still, when they are domesticated, they lose their freedom. It's like being taken in a prison and you are giving everything. Because that is naturally, that is not that how they are. They like to be out. They're wild by nature, not like human beings. So therefore, when you domesticate it, even you give all the love, compassion, everything, all the take care, still, having that freedom. I mean, they might not be able to say it. Sometimes you can see they want to go, and you cannot take them, or you cannot let them go. But you can see they become restless, or wanting to be out, wanting to explore some places. That just shows that is where they come joy. Owners, not because they are not well taken of, they want to have that freedom. That is what they enjoy, being in the nature. So therefore there is that kind of suffering of being domesticated, ruled by human beings, and in many cases also mistreated. Of course, there are some who are well treated, and then a lot of time mistreated. Sometimes even you don't mistreat them. After some time you cannot take care of them, then you give to someone, and then they might mistreat it. So the suffering of being mistreated by human beings, being unintelligent. Unintelligent here meaning, as I mentioned before, we know from a lot of modern technology in us that some animals are very intelligent, extremely intelligent animal as well. Generally they are more intuitive. Animals, they are more intuitive. They have less using reason and logic like we human beings do. But there are some animals who are intelligent. But here is the intelligent to practice the Dharma. That is where it is. And that is when we talk about human life as being precious. That is the way it comes. It's not saying that we are more superior and the other beings are less in that way. From the perspective of that, human beings have this, because of that, the ability or the potential to practice the Dharma, which the animal does not have that. So from that perspective, I think we do have to make a little bit of differentiating, or distinguishing, because sometimes people misunderstand it. Unintelligent or ignorance, that is the term that you often hear, the suffering of animals, and you might be wondering, yeah. And so forth are overwhelming, So yeah, when you don't really, especially in the wildlife, when you don't really understand them, sometimes it might feel like cute and wow, they are free and all roaming. But actually, when you watch some of those Animal Planet or Geography and how they, move from one place to another and all the struggle they go through, it's constant struggle, constant fear, constant. You don't want to be in that kind of situations. When you don't see all of that, sometimes it looks, maybe animals' life is better than we human lives. They seem less complicated, more simple. We human be very complicated. And sometimes we might feel like I might want to come as an animal, one particular animal that you like. It seems like that might be but again, that might be just kind of ignorance of not really understanding their, and of course this is wildlife, but also even as a, taking care of dog, cats, or any domesticated, if they have the ability to talk and communicate with us, like we communicate with human to human, they understand completely us, we are able to completely understand. I think they must have so many complaints every day, regardless how much love you show, and they will be very unhappy and complain everything, every day they will. As I mentioned, sometimes it's just like, house arrest. with every possibility, good things that you don't have to worry about food, you don't have to worry about all that, all be taken care of, but you are in house arrest. Do you like to be in house arrest? So therefore, that is the sufferings. Right now, you cannot hold your hand in. So here, giving some example. Right now, you cannot hold your hand in the fire for even few seconds. It's unbearable. If you try to put your hand in the fire, even for a few seconds, you will not be able to. So then, if that's the case, then can you be able to bear the suffering of, intense heart, being burned in a, alive in a fire, burning fire, iron. And again, sometimes even you that, you see that a little bit also in animal realms too. It's not exactly same, but it's human cruelty. Sometimes certain restaurant, they cook the animal alive, fry them alive. And that is supposed to be delicates, whatever, very expensive, whatever. I've seen some pictures of octopus on a grilling and, alive. Of course, these are for a few moments. But of course, when we talk about Harem, it's not just few moments, for a long time. So, and then you cannot sit naked on ice in the winter for even then a few minutes. And then to pass even a single day without eating or drinking anything bring great difficulties. So yes, like when we try to do the fasting for one day, not eating, that might be a little bit better. Not drinking, people even started to have not only mentally, but even physical headache, other things, So there's so much pain and sufferings on physical level, mental level, and so imagine that for days, weeks, months, years, that not being able to find a food and drink and constantly searching for that. Hungry ghost, sudden spirit, that is so much pain and sufferings, Bring great difficulty, and merely a tiny bee stink seems terrible, or even a mosquito bite, seems unbearable, terrible, So if that's the case, so then here he is saying, if we cannot handle and bear even those small, tiny sufferings, then imagine 1,000 times, 100,000 times more stronger suffering of them in those realms for long durations. Will you be able to endure them? Will you be able to bear such pain and sufferings? The point is, so if you feel that I will not be able to endure and bear such pain and suffering, then we have to stop creating cause and condition that could lead to such state and such sufferings. That is the main point here. Through such meditation, you come to through such meditation, you come to a feeling that, there's no way I can endure such a pain and suffering for such a intense suffering for such a long period. And if you feel that I cannot endure that, then, then at the end coming, I shouldn't engage in the cause and condition that could lead to such intense pain and sufferings, and thereby stopping creating negative karma. Also, through such meditation, also what help is to feel compassion for others as well. Because the pain and suffering is so intense, it's much more easy for us to cultivate love and compassion when you see someone's pain very intense and very obvious and very strong. It's much more difficult to feel compassion when suffering is small. You might even say, why are you complaining about that? It's so small. Instead of feeling compassion, it might annoy you. Do you get it? What are you complaining about it? It's such a small. Instead of compassion, you might feel annoyed by that. If you don't really understand. But it seems easy when you feel so obvious pain and sufferings. When you see and when you feel it, the compassion's so easy to generate. And so therefore, meditating on the suffering of three lower realms also help us to develop love and compassion. Strong love and compassion to start with. And then through that, then we expand to other beings as well. So therefore, that is also why meditation on the suffering of lower realms is helpful, beneficial in that way as well, which is not explained here, but that is also. How then will you be able to bear the heat and cold of the hells, the anguish of the pretas, and the horror of animal existence? Meditate on the suffering of lower realms until you are filled with the dread and apprehensions. Now that you have gained an auspicious human form, abandon the causes of lower rebirth and cultivate the causes of higher rebirth or happy rebirth. Determine to apply yourself to the methods that cut off the path to the lower realms. So then here you say you should apply yourself to engage in the practice, the path, the method that will stop the lower rebirth and that will lead to the higher rebirth. And then what is the method? What is the path? Then it comes later. So I think maybe today I will anyone's question I can take? Yes, please.
My question is, what causes for
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So what are the causes for encountering the holy gurus and the Dharma?
For the gurus, relying correctly to the gurus, through the thoughts and actions, as is mentioned at the very beginning of the Lamrim, So when we relying to the guru that we have already found correctly, through the thoughts and action. Through the thought, trying to have trust, faith, confidence, devotions, not have negative thoughts, and through actions, making offerings, in service, whatever offering you can offer, as well as, offering the teachings or practice, trying to apply their advice or instructions, teachings, taking it to the applying and practicing. And then, also praying, dedicating to meet the gurus again in the futures, dedicating, praying for their longevities, and also to meet them again in the futures. So those are some of the costs to continue to meet the teachers. And even if we have not met it, having the, even if we haven't met them at the moment, having the inspirations, to meet such gurus, having the inspirations and making the dedication prayer to meet such teachers and making the effort to find, and those will be at cost. Even if you haven't found now, but those will be the cost to meet them in the futures. And same with the Dharma, trying to practice the Dharma as much as possible. When we have met the Dharma, trying to, and then again, dedicating and praying to continue to meet the Dharma and continue to practice, and then, being respectful to the scriptures, the Dharmas, the scripture Dharma, as well as the experiential Dharmas, being respectful, having high regard, and treating them respectfully to the Dharma, and not treating them disrespectfully, So those will be, again, some cost to meet the Dharma. Yeah. Any others? Whether it's on Zoom or here? Yeah.
We have a question online.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes. There is one. Yes.
Thank you for these teachings. They've been so beneficial. So I appreciate them so much. And I think this question is in line with what it is that you're talking about. My brother died, as you said, about a week ago. He literally got out of bed, fell down, and never regained consciousness. I mean, just came completely unexpectedly. And he had estranged me. So I mean, he wouldn't speak to me or talk to me. And I never could figure out why. And I feel like I did what I thought I could do to heal that karmic, disruption while he was alive, but we didn't get it finished. We didn't clear it. So now I'm a little baffled. I was at his bedside. I did Medicine Buddha mantras. I did Tonglen. I've done Medicine Buddha puja for him since he's left. I've sponsored pujas. I don't know. I know this karmic link is going to sustain, but do you have any advice about what I can do now moving forward that he is not here in this life, that we can address this?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's good that you have done sponsored those practice and did the practice yourself. And again, I think try to visualize, imagine, and talk, maybe, and if we need to forgive truly from your heart and not holding anything. If we need to ask forgiveness, we ask forgiveness and try to do that practice. So there is not bad feeling, from either side. So that is, and then continue to do the medicine Buddhas and mantras, and whenever possible, some practice. And also whatever practice you do every day, you can dedicate to be able to find the peace, whatever unresolved that he had, to be able to resolve and to find peace with that. you can do the dedication for that. And then after that, also you shouldn't think too much about that. If you think too much, then again, you are attracting that energy. It's better to let it go, because sometimes our energy can kind of attract them, and and so then from them hanging around instead of being free and letting go, sometimes because of our energies, they are stuck there. And so again, sometimes it's better to let it go. You walk with that and then let it go, and not to let yourself being too bothered and thinking, oh, he's still here, or he's still unreleased, or he's still bothering. And sometimes it could be our energy, sometimes it could be there. And even is there, sometimes is due to our own energy that we keep them attracted. And so sometimes is better to let it go and not to think too much over it. Yeah.
Thank
That
you.
would be last. Yeah, thank you. Last questions. Yeah. Today.
And actually, this is our last question. If you've got more questions, please chat me and I'll keep them for next week.
Thank you, Geshe, for today's teaching. For me, it was like boom, right on target and on fire. So thank you. Could you speak about how the Buddhas always are with us and know our minds? And so when I struggle with something, anything, I've been practicing to connect immediately without getting into discursive thought about blah, blah, but that the Buddhas know what I'm thinking and how I'm acting, whether any human or animal sees me, they know. And could you help me bond with that more, please? Thank you.
Yes. From what the teaching says and from what my understanding is, the Buddhas are always there, but the Buddha's mind is always there anywhere. Wherever Buddha's mind is, there's a Buddha. It's always there. From their side. From our side, and to be able to connect with them, to be able to receive the blessing, to be able to connections, and that, again, we are unable to do because of the obscuration from outside. It is mentioned the bodhisattvas highly realized bodhisattvas. They can see Buddhas. Not only they can see Buddhas continue to receive teachings like human to human beings, but they can see even Sambhogakaya forms. And then, when you reach the path of preparations, and there is a concentrations called Chogyun, the concentrations of continuity of the Dharma. And through such concentrations ability, then you are able to receive teachings continuously from the Buddhas. And even when you are not that high level, for certain individuals, when their obscuration clear and karmas ripen, they can have the visions of the Buddhas, or they have the dream of the Buddhas coming in their dream and guiding them, showing the path, teachings, whatever caution they have, a doubt something, they come in the dream and answer those, and through that guiding and helping, supporting them. Some practitioners, they have actually vision of that. Some practitioners, they might have the vision of that, really see in their vision, but in the dream, they saw that. But of course, many others, like myself, I cannot communicate with any of that, and so I think in such cases, I think we need to have a strong faith. I think that is, if you have a strong faith, you will be able to connect in some way, like there are many meditators that I have heard, when they're on a retreat, they are running out of food and they don't know whether they should lead a retreat and go to the village and to look for food. And that will be a disruption to their meditation retreat practice. And then, they just pray and to the deity, and they have trust and confidence in that. And, I'm not going to live even if I die. I have trust in that. And somehow the next day someone has just dropped a food there, a bag of samba. So there are many meditators who had that kind of experiences, and so again, that they were somehow, they didn't have the vision, not it came in their dream, but because they have such a strong faith, and refuge and devotion in that particular deity, and they were able to totally kind of surrender themselves and say, it's up to you. And whatever you, when they have that, then something clicks and then something happens, and so of course for us, we need to do more practice and to feel that kind of trust and confidence, because at the moment our faith, trust, refuge is not unshakable. It is still kind of, some days better, some days we start to have little doubt, Some day we think there is the Buddha, some days, are there really Buddhas there? So that just show our refuge is not so strong. Our faith is not so strong, especially when things are not going so well in our life, or when we have a lot of challenges, difficulties. Sometimes we pray for the Buddhas or the deities, to clear the obstacles and to solve, and then nothing happens then. And then you start to be shaky, is all, everything that is said, is it true? Is there really Tara? Is there really medicine Buddha? Can Tara really help? Can medicine Buddha really help? If that, why didn't it help me? I've been praying, I've been doing practice, I didn't see any sign of that. And then your mind becomes shaky. That just shows how unstable our refuge and the faith is. And so when it is not so strong, then we get, our mind is not fully ripened and mature enough to receive the blessings, even though the blessings is there, but we are not receiving it. And it is just like the story of Asanga and Maitreya, same things. Maitreya he meditated for 12 years and he didn't see Maitreya, and after 12 years, he saw the Maitreya Buddhas, and then he said, how come you have no compassion? I've been here for 12 years and you never show up. Of course, there's a long story. No, I don't. And then Maitreya says, I have always been here. I've always been here. But Our Sangha didn't believe. If you have always been here 12 years, and you mean I didn't see you, you are always here? How come it is not possible? You know, he was not convinced. And then Maitreya told him to take his bag and go to the town, cities, and to convince him. And when he went, nobody saw the Maitreya. You know, nobody saw the Maitreya. You know, so when you have obscurations, sometimes it's there, but you cannot see. It's similar to the hungry ghost. You know, the water is there due to their obscuration karma. They see it dry, they cannot see the water and use it. And similarly, even the Buddhas are there due to our certain obscurations. And when obscuration clear, then, you know, we might be able to communicate directly, you know, but otherwise, otherwise it's difficult to communicate directly and to see and all of that. Okay.
So Geshe, we have 3 questions we'll save for next week. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And also at the end of class, I'm sorry, I have an announcement to make afterwards. Sorry. So Geshe, would you please lead us through 3 medicine Buddha mantras, or should I just start?
Tha Om Be Kanje Maha Be Kanje Ranja Samo Gade Soha Tha Om Be Kanje Maha Be Kanje Ranja Samo Gade Soha Tha Om Be Kanje Ma Be Kanje Ranja Samo Gade So.
And then we'll close with dedication prayers from Master Shantideva. May all beings everywhere, plagued by the sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And then for the long life of His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. Gangri Rawe Kole Jinkam Dear Pendang Malu Jangwei Chen raising wa tenzin gyatso yi jape si te bardu tengu chi.
Thank you very much, everyone. And then I think announcement already made before, but again, at 2 there is a closing ceremony for the mandala and dissolutions, and they will distribute some scent to everyone, and you can use it, when someone's dying, whether it's human beings, animals, put a little bit of sand on the ground, maybe sometimes you put a little bit of cream, and on top of cream you put a little bit, and it is almost same like pour, transferring that, and so you can do that, and you can also bless it places where it might feel pollutions, where there's pollutions or some negative energies. Sometimes if you kind of spread that can be also kind of blessings and clearing the negativity pollutions, and you can use for other things. Sometimes you can use for when you create holy objects, whether it's sadhana, statues, stupas, you can have those. So it can be used in many different ways as well. So, okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you.